which is a little bit long, and so but we are happy to welcome you all to the Ottawa City Commission meeting for November 15th, 2021. It is now 4:08, and we're going to begin our study session. We begin every meeting with public comment. Are there individuals who have registered for public comment today?
I don't have any registered.
Okay, great. That moves us on to the appointment to fill an open city commission spot. We are going to, in just a moment, take a motion to fill the unexpired term left by Commissioner Jorgensen, which was made vacant on October 6th. His term ends January 2021, and we are filling that this afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and just make the motion to fill the unexpired term left by Commissioner Jorgensen with Emily Graves. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we fill the unexpired term of City Commissioner with Emily Graves that was left vacant by Commissioner Jorgensen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Emily, come on up. We're going to have Melissa swear at you or swear you in. But welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Tell me over here. Yeah, okay. I'll come over to you. All right, you raise your right hand and then repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Emily Graves,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Commissioner
and faithfully discharge the duties of Commissioner
of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back, Commissioner Graves. We're so glad to have you back, and we're glad to have a full table back with us. Is there anything you would like to say before we start the meeting? Yeah, yep.
I was getting looks, so
Yeah,
I wasn't quite
don't
sure.
look out there.
Okay,
You should
just
know
not
this
look
is
out
not a
there.
good idea.
Okay.
Do not look out there.
No,
Just-
I mean, it's good to be, like, I was at the other end last time, so it's a different view here. But no, I'm just excited to get started and looking forward to my term.
All right, thank you so much. That moves us on to items for presentation and discussion. A continued discussion that we are having regarding the FBO agreement, fixed base operator agreement at Ottawa Municipal Airport. I believe Mr. Haefley will be addressing that matter with us today.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I don't know that I have anything to add to the last discussion we had last week to this. There was a question about the debt service on the T hangars and how that would affect. We bring in approximately $20,000 a year for rent on those new T hangars that are on the south end of the airport. The debt service on those is $65,000 a year. So sharing the income off of that at the 90-10 or at the 85-15 split with Mr. Reeder and Reeder Aviation will not really make that much of a dent in the ability to pay that. So I believe the debt on those T hangars is paid out of the general fund debt service.
Okay, so remind me once again. So we're bringing in about $20,000 in rent,
Yes,
but the debt service payment is $65,000.
that's correct.
How long will that run? How long will the 65 run?
Through 2028.
Thank you.
What else do you have to share with us today?
I do
Pardon
have
me?
Jim Reeder in the audience with us here, in case you have any questions for him. I don't know that I have anything else to share. That was the only question I remembered.
Yeah, that's right. Michael, I realize too that our city, it'll probably never be a cash flow positive event on our hangar space. I mean, much like our swimming pool, we can't charge enough to pay for a swimming pool either, so it's kind of just one of our city necessities that has benefits on the periphery, not just on the rent of the hangar. So I understand that. I appreciate you bringing that information. I guess I would like to ask a question of our new I'm sorry, what's the? Yeah, FBO. There we go. Got so many acronyms. You say he's here?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could. Well, first of all, yeah, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Come on up.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
What kind of changes could you see at our airport to get started with?
Well, I think everything's been going just fine. I don't see or plan any big changes. I'd like to see us, of course, sell more gasoline and like as much involvement to Airport Day and the Air Adventurers and any way to get people from the city out to experience the airport is what I'm for.
So good. Well, I not met you yet before, but I did ask someone about you that knew you pretty well and spoke very highly of you. So
Thank you.
I think that'd be a great addition to our community.
Thank you.
Commissioner, one thing that Mr. Reeder did not bring up is he has a annual inspection for airplanes. That business, he'll be bringing that business to the airport, which is going to help increase traffic out at the airport, which will in turn help fuel sales, which will, it could cause somebody to, if the inspection goes overnight, they could be spending a night in a hotel, eating food at a local restaurant, doing things like that. So those are positives about having an FBO out there to offer services that we can't offer with an airport manager.
Michael, to piggyback off of Commissioner Skidmore's question a little bit ago, did the airport ever generate enough revenue to pay that $65,000?
No,
So it was always coming from the general fund?
yes.
Okay.
Pardon me, yes,
Excuse me.
Commissioner Weigand.
I have a question. Mr. Reeder has operated airports, been in the flying business, in the mechanical business for years.
I've never operated an airport, sir, but I've been involved in aviation for most of my life, and I've been a mechanic both at the Ottawa airport and surrounding airports for about 8 years now.
And you'll bring a mechanic to us?
So I am a mechanic, sir. I'm a
On board
licensed
then.
mechanic, yes.
Okay, great. I like the idea.
All right.
I do have a question on page 5 of the agreement, and it appears as though there's adjustments for winter hours and holidays. What does that mean? It's our packet, page 5. It may not be the page 5 of the agreement. I think it's page 3, item 15A.
Oh, page 3 on the contract.
For me, I believe this is as I stated last week, this is the same agreement we had with the last FBO, minus a few changes. I believe this allows some flexibility to be closed on holidays like the city is, if city offices are closed, to be closed on Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, things like that. I think it also allows it during the winter time if there's a need to change the days or anything else, we can work through that through an agreement between the FBO and myself, or between the FBO and Richard.
I actually have a question for you. It said we had a manager for the previous 3 years. How does the $58,000 that we would be paying Reeder Aviation compare to the salary that we were paying the manager?
The salary we were paying the manager was about $53,000 a year minus benefits. So when you add benefits in there, it was well over $60,000.
Thank you.
However, the complete compensation package is more than that. I mean, if you consider T-hanger rent and hangar rent,
Correct,
yes.
but that's correct. But what a FBO can bring to the table that an airport manager can't is worth the additional funding.
No, and please don't think that I'm questioning, it's just, that's
No.
not the complete package. So, I mean, I
Right.
recognize that the FBO will not be offered, benefits
Correct.
because they will not be a city employee, but they will be receiving hangar rent.
Correct.
And you did indicate, again, that about $65,000?
For,
Is that what is the annual hangar rent? What is the annual receipts of hangar rent?
I don't have that in front of me, Commissioner, or Mayor,
Or
but
the
we did have
payment?
$20,000 off of the new T hangars. The main hangar fluctuates somewhat because we do have normal renters, but we also have enough room in there to where we can house somebody overnight. And then the North T hangars are pretty well set at $150 a month. And there's 4 of those hangars, so that's 4 times, that's 6,
7,200 a
yeah,
year.
times 12.
I
sorry.
guess I'm concerned about the fact that we're not covering the debt service on the T hangars. And within this agreement, it appears as though the FBO will be receiving a large percentage of the rent, and some of that percentage I really think should go towards the debt service. And so I don't know how that looks. We just literally had a conversation about being good stewards of public monies, and I just have heartache that we're not covering the debt service. I don't know if that's an option or not.
Can I ask a question of maybe Melissa or Richard? Is this a better economics than what we had with the FBO, bottom line? I mean, better dollars
We're going
for
to
the
an
city?
FBO.
I mean, than we had with the previous city employee.
I believe so. I believe so, because increased traffic out there
Yeah.
brings more money into the community.
I agree with that, if we can get that done.
And I'm not disagreeing that at all. And I mean, and as the public well knows, I mean, we have an aviation history in my family. I mean, it just, again, I have heartache that we aren't covering the debt service, and then 90% of that rent, or pardon me, 85% of the T hangar rent is going towards the FBO, when a percentage of that could help cover.
No, 85% of those new T hangars is coming to the city. 15% is going to the FBO.
Okay. And then, on all other hangars, 90% of that goes to the FBO.
That's correct.
I wish that we would have kind of a breakdown of how that would look and what kind of monies we're looking at there, because it does appear a little, I just wish we would have a breakdown of that.
I can get with Melanie and we can provide that to you.
But we're so far away from, I mean, the rents would have to really skyrocket to get the debt service covered, because we're about $20,000 of income, isn't it, for the hangars now and the 65, and we're.
Yeah, if we tripled the rent out there, I'm afraid we would lose most of the local renters that we have.
Sure.
So I think we're gonna be subsidizing anyway. So,
Still, for full financial disclosure, I still would like to see what that financial statement looks like for rent and how that looks.
Okay. So, do you want me to bring that back to you at another study session? Can we move this on to the regular meeting Wednesday? Or do you want to table this until we can look at it again in another study session?
Michael, is there an urgency to get this person placed as FBO, or is this, what would your opinion, sooner or later versus later?
I would really like to get this done sooner rather than later. Right now, we've got volunteers helping keep the doors open out there, and have been since our airport manager left.
And Mr. Reader could start when, if we would, I'm thinking if we vote on this on Wednesday night, what did everybody else think about that? If we can get those numbers together Wednesday night and have a discussion then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to see this go into effect the first of December
Okay.
for a clean start.
Is Mr. Reader prepared to do that, or is he prepared to start at an earlier time?
Yes.
Yes, you're prepared to start
Yes.
the first of December.
1st of December? Okay, thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
No, I'm in favor of moving this to Wednesday's meeting.
I would too.
I'm fine with moving it to Wednesday's meeting as long as you bring those financials on rent for me, please.
We can do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us on to the loan application for the American Eagle Fund. And I don't know if Ms. Lee or Ms. Reed will be addressing that matter, but both of you are on the agenda, and so I'm going to throw it out to whomever would like to speak first.
Mayor Kaler, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. The American Eagle Loans revolving loan program will be making a transition to Ms. Reed, and she has helped with the paperwork, but because she was out of the office during the conversation with the review team, I'll be happy to share with you the details today. So we have an application from Grandpa Barry's Guitar. They have actually been talking with me, I would say, well, we could easily be talking over a year about doing a loan. They actually were in a situation where the COVID situation was good because people were choosing to do some different things with their time and money, and that included learning how to play guitar and purchasing them. And so they were hoping to expand, and they finally reached the opportunity. They know their details. They had their financial plan together. So they put their application together. They asked for $10,000. They would like to do that for 48 months at 2%. They are hoping to grow their employment numbers from really what's one part-time person now to that person going to a full-time and then adding a part-time person. They hope to be able to pay it quicker, but they've been good at supplying the information. The review committee met, went through their application and all of the details about their finances and their business plan. And the committee recommends to you to authorize approval of this loan. I believe, having talked with the city manager, and I think we copied this city attorney on this, that we would do the same sort of personal guarantee that we did on the last loan.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir.
I see there's a significant increase from the square footage that they're going from 300 to 2,500. Are they staying in the same building and just moving, growing there, or are they actually moving somewhere else?
They considered something else, but they are in fact being able to stay where they are and taking over that location.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, commissioners? Would you like to move this on to you are looking for this to be passed today, is what I'm sorry. Wendy, are you looking for this to be passed today, or are you okay with putting this on the agenda on Wednesday? Is there an urgency?
No, ma'am. We're comfortable with Wednesday. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Lee, thank you. Commissioners, is there a consensus to place this on the agenda for Wednesday?
Yeah.
All right, we shall do so. That moves us on to the next item, which I believe is Mrs. Lee also, and that is the updated Parks Master Plan, which begins on page 12 of our agenda. Mrs. Lee?
Commissioners, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. This project is really kind of a team project. While some of our master plans over the years have been contracted out, some updates are done by contracts and some have been done internally. The Parks Plan was, as I shared in my staff memo, was initially done as a park and recreation plan back in 2008. And so we were involved at that time, but it was a combined plan. Following that is when we created a play task force and became very engaged with creating project plans, really, if you will, for many of our parks to eliminate a lot of outdated equipment, safety hazards, improve the experience for the residents and the users, and fundraise and grants for a number of improvements over the years. So we did an update in 2015, and that was ahead of the Goppert Teen Park project completion, and a number of others. And so at the beginning of COVID, or well, really, I shouldn't even say at the beginning of COVID, in the year 2020, Mike Hafley, DJ Welsh, and I, as staff, had suggested to the Play Task Force that we take 2020 and work on an update to the plan, that we had accomplished a lot of our projects and really needed to think about what were the next steps. And because of COVID is really where I was going as staff, this became a lower priority because we really were dealing with a lot of other things. So but we still were working on it off and on during that time. And so for the last 18 months, we've been working on tweaking it, if you will. We were very committed to trying to finish the park at Legacy Square and Freedom Park. And I know many of you know that we've got a project well on its way, but not quite complete there. And we wanted to focus on those and complete them before we began any new park improvements at all. After we've reviewed it and went through it, when Levi Meyer was hired, I also shared with him the previous plan and then shared with him our draft. He had some good feedback. And one of his questions was, do we think it was time to maybe consider a new parks and recreation plan? And I said, that's a great question, because I think we've updated as much as we can. Going back and using data from 2005, 6, 7, about what is it that the community wanted in their parks. And then certainly we've done surveys and worked with the Play Task Force and other community members in certain neighborhoods about what did they need, for example, Walton Park and Freedom Park. It's probably time for a good survey opportunity or involvement opportunity from the public about, okay, so where do we want to see the parks go in the next 10 years? Meanwhile, we wanted to at least give you an update and a narrative and a document that could be used in the short run that still shows some of the things that we maybe haven't finished, such as Lakeside. But at least what we have done is documented more fully. So we, the four of us then talked about it again, had a meeting face-to-face and reviewed the changes. And then we had a meeting with the Play Task Force. At that point, we began to have conversation about, as has been said here in these meetings, that one of the big things coming forward in the community will be relative to our aquatics offerings. And so the Play Task Force, part of the conversation we had was that maybe as that project begins to be developed, whether there were some Play Task Force members that might want to be participating there, or that might be the focus rather than park improvements specifically, but that the aquatic center was certainly a big undertaking. And up until this park update, we really had said very little about that. In this park plan update, you will find that the Public Works Department memo that was received from the engineer, we did a cut and copy in here to start making sure that people were aware that there was data that had been gathered by Public Works about the need to make improvements, whether at Forest Park or whatever the community decides. So really at this plan is just kind of largely an update and maybe setting the stage for where's the community want to go next and what kind of a master plan could be developed, including aquatics or other park improvements. And so I've given you the finished plan. There's some updated pictures. There's some updated charts. I know that, well, I don't know if Michael's still in the audience, but I'm sure that either one of us would be happy to answer questions. This too is a project in the works. It's not urgent. It's just something that we want to put on your table for discussion.
Commissioners, questions that you may have about the initial view of the presentation that Mrs. Lee has brought to us today?
I'm not familiar with the previous or the current plan you're working off of. Are there updates in this one that could be redlined or changed to where we can look at what you're referring to?
I can give you a red line version that has nearly all of the changes. There were some grammatical changes made right there at the end and some pictures inserted. Be happy to do that. Most of it is just things like here's coming the teen park, and then now here's it in completion. There wasn't wholesale change in any of the goals, if you will. It was mostly just we had projects that were pending that have now completed. But if you'd like a red line version, Commissioner, or all of you, be happy to send it to you.
The plan, you know, it looks good to me. I just don't know if you're asking us for input. I don't know how to reflect on any of the changes, but
Sure.
from what I've read and gone through, it's a plan.
Wendy, too, I just want to say thanks for the task force. I'm thinking about over the last 10 or 15 years, the progress we've made in our community with regard to recreation and parks, and it's just very exciting to see the changes, and you know, let's keep going, keep the
We've done,
pedal to the metal. That's right, we got more to go, but I'm very encouraged by what we've done and been able to accomplish already, so thank you and to all the members.
Yeah, the Play Task Force really began in 2010. So yes, I appreciate those comments, Commissioner Skidmore. Both their willingness to come build a park or raise money or just come to meetings. That group of folks, along with staff, have really kind of transformed our playground experiences.
Definitely.
Other questions about the initial look? Commissioners, what is the will of the commission on this particular park master plan? Would you like to hold it over for another week so that we can have some time to review it?
Yes.
And then also, I would encourage the community, if you are interested in parks and you have a love for our green spaces in our community, please look over this and really let us know. These parks are for everyone in our community, and we want input from you on how you would like to see this moving forward. That is how we've gotten our parks where we're at, is having community involvement, and we certainly don't want to stop now. So we will put this on the agenda to visit again. Do you want to visit next week regarding this item?
Sure.
Sounds good.
All right, we shall do so. That moves us on to recommendations to add 8 properties to the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. Mrs. Lee?
Sorry, Mayor, I
That's okay.
put myself on mute just in case, and then I always have to get it back off. Yes, we have the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling down on the packet. That plan is quite long. Okay, so for Neighborhood Revitalization, we have a series of properties there. I know that one of them, we've changed the address because of the new application, but the applications and what you have before you really is what was applied for. So we just wanted to let you know that there was a change in the address. I believe it was a corner property. And so with the new way the house was facing, et cetera, we've changed the address. So otherwise, be happy to answer any questions. This is fairly standard for all of us, of course, as we've been doing these quite a bit in the last couple of years with the new opportunity to get a much higher rebate amounts.
Commissioners, do you have questions about the Neighborhood Revitalization Program? I might want to note, Commissioners, that Commissioner Jorgensen was actually the individual who had sat on this particular board and had done that. So I stepped in the interim, and I did review these and have signed these. I would anticipate that Ms. Graves will now take that on, but I can certainly keep it if I need to. It's not a tremendous amount of work, but I was the one who reviewed these. These were not Commissioner Jorgensen's. Any additional questions? Are you fine with moving this onto the agenda?
Yes.
yeah.
All right, perfect. We shall do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that moves us on to the next item on the agenda, which is comments by our city manager. City Manager Neinstead.
Welcome back, Commissioner Graves.
that's the extent of my comment.
Excellent. Well, Commissioner Graves, if you're any indication of the comments and the length of comments, we're really glad to have you back. That moves us on to reports by our city commissioners. At this time, we are going to have a little discussion about the process in which that we will enter into when we have our meeting on Wednesday. For the public, just remember that our meeting on Wednesday is an evening meeting so that we can have a public hearing on the Kansas cottages at 1742 South Elm. City Attorney Finch, did you want to address this matter at all?
Mayor Kaler and members of the commission, this is an opportunity that you have decided to give to receive public input. It is not an official public hearing in the same way that the Planning Commission holds a public hearing. You are in control of how the meeting is conducted. You have received some written comments already. My advice would be that you follow kind of the familiar structure of a public hearing. You open for public comment. I don't know if you want to take proponent first and allow them to explain the project to you and what it is they hope to accomplish, and then you can allow for public comment. Typically, you'd ask for some staff briefing. I don't know if Chairman Landis will be here from the Planning Commission, but I would anticipate all of those informational type presentations come first, and then you'll receive statements from people who have a position pro or con on the application. I do recommend that you pretty clearly break that section of the meeting from then your discussion with Ms. Lee and myself as far as your consideration of the application and what it is you choose to do, so that you don't have, like we saw in the land bank meeting, you don't want back and forth. You don't want, that's not an opportunity for others to weigh into your deliberations. You have a specific role to play here that is not really suited for back and forth with members of the audience. So we can kind of sketch out for you that night something fairly similar to what I've just described, so you'll have that as kind of a guidepost as you go through your conversation with the public. And then when we get to that part where you deliberate, I might just remind you again of kind of the law of planning and zoning and what your obligations are, and then you all can entertain motions and have discussion and come to a decision. Or if you're not ready that night, you can always postpone that. You're not on a time frame like the Planning Commission, so you have a little more latitude. But I do think this is one of the reasons you moved this to a night meeting, was to get that input, and if all 5 of you are here, to go ahead and deal with this issue one way or the other so that it's moving forward in the minds of the applicant or the neighborhood, pro or con. So with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Questions, commissioners, about the process?
I just think it'd be good to explain it that night also for all the people that will be here, so I appreciate your comments, but I agree with your way of assessment there.
And any other questions? Okay. Then that is how we are going to proceed, is with the basic outline that has been laid out by our city attorney, to include information from the chair of the Planning Commission, proponents, opponents, discussion among staff and commissioners, and a decision if there is one. Regarding public comment,
Mayor?
yes.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. Unfortunately, the chair of the Planning Commission cannot be at the meeting on Wednesday. He's out of the country. So what we had anticipated was that, similar to most decisions that come to you from the Planning Commission, was staff will be making a presentation. We just had hoped that he might be able to be there in case there was some characterization from their point of view that we wanted to share, but he cannot be there. If you'd like, I can arrange for maybe another Planning Commissioner to be present if that would be something you'd like.
I don't know that that's necessarily necessary. I mean, if that's something that can happen, great. If not, I think we'll be okay with moving forward with the abundance of information that you have given to us.
Okay, thank you.
As our city attorney did indicate, we have received several letters to date. My my liking is that we will not read those letters verbatim. We will use those as part of the public record, but I am not going to entertain reading those letters. If an individual would like to come and read their letter, they're welcome to do so, but I will not be reading letters. We also are going to limit public comment, as we do with all of our public comment, I would believe we should limit it to 3 minutes, as we do with all of our public comments, from proponents or opponents, and let them have a conversation with us, but not on an extended period. Commissioners, do you have thoughts on any other way you'd like to make that work?
I think that all sounds good.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about how you would like to move forward on the hearing regarding Kansas cottages on Wednesday? Anything we're missing, City Attorney Finch?
I think that you will find when we get there, there'll be questions from people. Can I defer my 3 minutes? Can I combine this? Can we have a block of time for opponents, proponents? My recommendation to you, and this comes from time spent in the legislature where we get a lot of hearings and a lot of folks who want to talk, is just keep it to 3 minutes. Don't allow for the deferral and accumulation of time, and just encourage people, don't be repetitive. If someone said what you want to say, it's okay to get up and say, I agree with that, and add another issue. It's not really a situation where you have a spokesperson, for and against, and you can see how many people sign up, and if you have fewer than you think, maybe, the time limit can be a little greater than 3 minutes if you have fewer speakers, but you can play that by ear when you see how many have signed up that night. But I think it's fair to say there will be a time limit, and that people won't be able to yield their time. It's not the floor of the U.S. House. It will be their time to speak or not speak.
No, it is not. Good point. Okay, perfect. So we are going to move on to reports by city commissioners, and I'm going to start with Mayor Pro Tem Crowley.
I too would like to congratulate Commissioner-elect Graves.
Hey,
That's
yes.
it.
Excellent. Commissioner Graves?
I don't have a report right now.
Okay. Commissioner Skidmore?
I'd like to also congratulate Commissioner Graves and also congratulate KU on a big win over Texas.
That was a big sigh.
It was hard, yeah.
That's-
I gotta
Did you want to
it.
say it again?
No.
But I can replay it over and over and
Once was
over and
enough.
over again, right? Okay.
It was a-
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley, we can replay it.
Public record now.
There you go. It's a public record.
It wasn't basketball, right?
Not yet. Let's point that out.
It was a good weekend. KU, K-State,
Yeah.
Chiefs are all back on track.
Yes, Commissioner Wygant, do you have
And I'd
other
like to
thoughts?
welcome Commissioner Graves to the chair here. Thank you. And I have no other report, though.
Okay, great. That goes to reports by the mayor. I think I join in a collective voice on welcoming Emily back to us. We're so glad to have you, Commissioner Graves, and I'm excited to see all the good things that you can help move the city in Ottawa in the right direction. I did at the last meeting indicate to you that that I had been working with our city attorney and our city manager and our chief of police on modernizing our dog ordinances. Commissioners, I would like to bring an ordinance to you, or bring the ordinance to you, the modified ordinance to you, and actually start just having those conversations. Would the commission be willing to begin having those conversations as early as next week?
Yes.
I look forward to those conversations, yes.
Commissioners? All right, great. Well, we will get that on the agenda then for next week. That moves us on to announcements. We have our regular meeting at 7 p.m. Please note that change. It's normally our daytime meeting, but we will be meeting at 7 p.m. on the 17th. On the 22nd, we will have our study session at 4 p.m. The 25th through the 26th, we will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. If there's nothing else to be brought forth to the City Commission today, we will adjourn today's meeting.